Greetings and good evening. Welcome to the RoundTable, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Tuesday, November the 4th, 2025. Bonsoir, comment ça va? I am Drew, and welcome to week 9 and 10 recap show of the NFL and the NCAA. And we will get into each and every one of those games that we have on our slate for this evening, but it is November the 4th, as I mentioned, and we all know that November the 4th, or the first Tuesday in November, is Election Day across America. Depending on where you are, first and foremost, hopefully you did have an opportunity to get out there and let your voice be heard and cast a ballot for whatever state or local election that is going on in your neck of the woods. So please, 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 if you have not already voted and the polls are still open, get in line, go ahead and cast that ballot for whatever it is that is on the ballot in your local municipality. And for those of you that are participating in the electoral process, thank you for completing and fulfilling your civic obligation and duty throughout this election cycle. And this election is going to dictate how, at least on the local level and on the state level, you are going to be treated in 2026 and beyond. So keep fighting the good fight, and continue prayers for all those affected by the negative effects of Hurricane Melissa that ravaged the Caribbean last week. Whether you are a descendant of Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, whether you are a descendant of Haiti, whether you are a descendant of Jamaica, whether you're a descendant of Cuba, or any other affected island or area in the Caribbean, we continue to have prayers in our heart for you. And for those of us that have it within us to donate in whatever capacity that you can, please do so, because the recovery process is going to be an ongoing process for many, many weeks and months and possibly years to come. And before we jump into football, we talked about this last Tuesday before I introduced my brother Griff on this fine night about the Major League Baseball World Series going on. And ladies and gentlemen, we were treated to one of the best World Series in recent history, where one, it went 7 games. 2, it was 2 very good teams playing. And then 3, there was the nostalgia of, could the Los Angeles Dodgers repeat, and all of the star power associated with the Los Angeles Dodgers. You have MVP, Cy Young winners, and just talent from top to bottom, as good as money can buy, as we can see. So congratulations to the Dodgers on winning the 2025 Major League Baseball World Series. Repeat champions, like I said. The best baseball player in the history of the game on their team in his prime right now in Shohei Ohtani, but he wasn't even an MVP. It was his teammate, his fellow countrymate. And that makes, Griff, if you would not believe this, I believe Magic Johnson has 18 titles as a player and a coach, whether it be on the NFL side, the basketball NBA side, or the Major League Baseball side, or even a hockey. I believe he's part owner in a hockey team. Man, Magic just out there doing it all. So shout out to Magic and the entire Dodger family. La La Land, y'all live it up. Their next title hopeful will most likely be the Chargers or the Rams at the end of this season. A lot to cover tonight. Griff, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday evening, man?
Hey man, I'm doing excellent, man. As you said, man, a lot of stuff been going on this weekend, as well as you got the elections and stuff. And again, I just want to jump on what you just said. Thank you for all those that went out there and exercised their civil duty. I voted last week during the early voting. A lot of people did a lot of stuff to ensure that we had these opportunities. So I just wanted to make sure that I get that big shout out. And my heart continues to go out to all the families in the Caribbean recovering from this, man. But let's get into some football, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And if it's Tuesday, it's a recap time. And this past weekend, we had some phenomenal games. And it wrapped up last night, but we're going to talk about that game a little later. But let us start off with what was tapped as the game of the weekend in the National Football League between two big time quarterbacks, two big time showtime level teams, and the Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Orchard Park to take on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Griff, now you are not one of these fair weather fans. You are not one of these bandwagon type fans. You are not one of these fans who just say stuff just to say it. You come with facts when you say what you're going to say, right? When we last spoke on Friday about this particular game, you said that you did not have confidence in your MVP to win at home against Patrick Mahomes. You said, I don't have any confidence in that Bills defense. Well, we know how the regular season series goes between these two teams, right? Josh wins in the regular season, Patrick wins in the playoffs. Is this going to be a repeat? First question. Second question, you're not surprised as to who won this game because this was legitimately a toss-up game, right? So we don't dismiss that. But if these two teams see each other again in the playoffs, regardless of location, do you think we would have a repeat ending as we did this past Sunday? Or do you think Kansas City would be in a much better position to win no matter what?
I think if these two see each other in the postseason, it'll be a totally different game. Again, I like, and you said it, my MVP. He's not my guy, but I knew that's who they was going to select based off of the squad that he had. But he wasn't for me, the real reason why this team won. I mean, the defense, you just said it. My thing was the defense and how the defense been playing all year. I also said on Friday that the Chiefs needed to have, this would be an opportune time for them to establish a running game, which they weren't able to run in this game, as well as the Bills was able to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. That daggone Cook's the MVP of this team right here for me, for the Bills. The Bills go as far as Cook and the defense go, and the defense had an out of body experience this week. We've been talking about this defense all out of body experience because they ain't played like that, man. Come on now, let's keep it real. They ain't played like that. They've been struggling all season. That's been their Achilles heel, and the way they performed this week, man, they definitely played like the better team in this game. Right, great game, but I just think Patrick Mahomes give you enough during the regular season, but he give you his all during the postseason. And that team played different in the postseason.
So even on this fine Tuesday night, you say that Kansas City is better than Buffalo. Because when you say the defense had an out of body experience, they did not play like they usually play. If we go back and rewind and look at the tape, they put a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. He was like 15 or 34, right? Josh Allen had a pretty good game. We knew going into this game that Josh Allen was going to perform well. We assumed, and we kind of know that Patrick Mahomes is going to perform well. It was the defense from the Buffalo Bills that did step it up. And it's all about matchups. We'll talk about that later on tonight in certain games. It's all about matchups. Just because I have the better record, I have the more talent coming into the game. It is how my coaching staff utilizes the scheme that we have available to apply that pressure. We haven't said anything negative about the Kansas City offensive line up to this point this year. Last year, they were winning all of these close games, these one-score games. They were, 11-0 last year? They have yet to win a one-score game this year. The amount of pressure that Patrick Mahomes was under led to that 15 for 34. It wasn't that Rice was dropping balls. It wasn't that Worthy was dropping balls or Thornton or Pachenko coming out of the backfield or his favorite security blanket, Patrick Kelce. No, it was the pressure from that defensive front. They kept bringing the heat. Even on the last play of the game, when most defenses play prevent defense, the Buffalo Bills blitzed like they were supposed to. That is how you beat Patrick Mahomes. We saw it in the Super Bowl with a 4-man front from the Philadelphia Eagles. That is how you beat the Kansas City Chiefs in 2025 and in 2026. Buffalo
Clock
gonna
it,
do the same thing if they see each other again. I'm
clock
telling
it,
you,
clock it.
clock it.
Jordan, clock it, Jordan.
You know, every time you say clock it, you end up being on the short end of the stick. But hey, phenomenal game of the week, man.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, well, I tell you what. On this next one, we both came up on the short end of the stick because we had a discussion about the NFC North on Friday, right? And each one of these teams were jockeying for a playoff position because each one of these four teams, legitimately speaking, are still in the playoff hunt. And you had a matchup this past weekend between the Minnesota Vikings 14-win team from 2024 against a 15-win team from 2024, the Detroit Lions, the beasts of the North, so to speak, for the past several years, them and the Green Bay Packers. This one was a shocker, right? Because it happened in Detroit. It happened in the 3-1-3. Well, the top offense in the National Football League just is efficient and proficient at home. One, they are healthy. Two, Minnesota's defense has kind of looked a little suspect under Mr. Brian Flores the past couple of weeks, where you have had substandard teams kind of take advantage of that defense. Now, granted, the offense was limited because of Wentz. J.J. McCarthy coming back was another detractor, not something that would be considered a positive for Minnesota. But Minnesota went into hostile territory against a very good, very good, very, very, very good Detroit Lions team, and not only held their ground, but created turnovers, which led to those points, which led to them stealing a victory, in my opinion, because this one is going to come back to bite Detroit in the gluteals later on this season when we are jockeying for that number one or number two position in the playoffs. Were you surprised as to how much success J.J. McCarthy was able to have in his first real test of his NFL career?
I don't gonna say it's not his first real test, man. I mean, he didn't play in the beginning of the season. I would say he didn't do that great. I have to give credit to the Minnesota Vikings defense this week, man. The defense that has not looked that great, but because of how lackluster the offense played, this defense was able to stop that two-headed monster that I was talking about. What the way of the Detroit Lions has been a lot of Gibbs and Montgomery, but unfortunately, the team that had the better rushing game was the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings was able to run; they had over 100 yards rushing this game, whereas Montgomery and Gibbs they was held under 100 yards rushing. That's a recipe to beat Detroit. Because if you can stop them, that means that Minnesota had the ball more time of possession. Uh, I was still shocked because I just didn't think that Minnesota was going to be able to go to Detroit and beat Detroit at home. With how we've been watching how this offense, they just been getting better and better each week. I was shocked in displaying this one right here. I was.
Yes, as was I. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out Troy, Tommy. Tommy, you said Detroit has reached its peak, its highest point. I don't know about that one. We'll talk about that in a minute. Shout out Harold. Yeah, this one was a head scratcher for me, man. This one was a head scratcher simply because Detroit isn't hurt. Detroit isn't hobbled. Detroit is supposed to be hitting their mid-season stride here. So got it. This is a divisional rival, but you're the better team. You are
Yeah.
at home. You are playing against a rookie quarterback in reality. So there is no reason, rhyme, or justification for Dan Campbell taking an L on this one. Like I said, this is going to come back to bite them later on this season. But it does not, at least for me, take away what Detroit is, who they have on their team, and what they bring to the table. They're still one of the top three teams in the NFC and possibly the NFL for me. This was just one of those games where Minnesota's defense overperformed, and Detroit's offense underperformed.
Mhm.
Because even with the Brian Flores approach to defensive aggressiveness, Detroit has more than enough playmakers on that offense, both in the backfield and on the outside. I mean, five weapons, literally each and every play that they line up, that can take it to the house and hit his head on the goalpost. So this one was a lot
A
of
head
people
scratcher.
a lot of people in Pick'ems picked this game incorrectly. Is all I will say.
Yeah, a
This
lot of people pick all these teams that we about to talk about and they lost.
Yeah, yeah. Now this one right here, my man. This was my sneaky upset of the week. Carolina is a whole lot better than people give them credit for, and have been giving them credit for. Right? They are 5-4 at this point. They've earned all five of those victories that they've gotten under their belt. They are still one of those teams where you can't hang your hat on. I can depend on them to put up 250 in the passing game, but that run game is something to be reckoned with. They showed it on prime time against the Cowboys, introducing that run game earlier in the year. But this game against the Green Bay Packers, they kind of put their stamp on their individual team identity for the 2025 season, and they're going to ride that coattail for as far as they can go, as long as they can keep their two primary running backs healthy and Bryce Young healthy. I think the Carolina Panthers could be a big spoiler in the NFC. Now, the disappointment. What are you more disappointed with? The Green Bay offense, the Green Bay coaching, and the play calling, or the Green Bay defense as to why they lost at home again to a team they should have beaten?
The defense, man.
Mm.
I mean, we with the Michael Parsons trade, we had already many of us, had already went on and crowned them as probably the best defense in the league going into this season. But I also said, and I said this in agreement, what is Michael Parsons' kryptonite? And that's the ability to stop the run. And what did they do? I mean, because I like, I'm a Bryce Young guy. Bryce is from the University of Alabama, but he wasn't a big factor in this game. It was the Panthers' ability to run that ball. Rico Dowd touched that ball 25 times. 25 times and rushed that ball for, I think he had 130 yards. With a defense like what Green Bay is supposed to have, you just weren't expecting that. But when you able to run the ball like that, that means your offense, your running game becomes your defense because it keeps that high-powered Green Bay offense off the field. So if you look at the time of possession between the two teams, it was almost even, which means again, Green Bay either they needed to score every time they touched the ball, and they didn't, which means giving the ball back over to them. To Green Bay, it helped them out. I mean, giving the ball to the Panthers, it helped them out, man. I'm disappointed with the defense. I thought this defense was much better than what it is. So that's just me.
Okay, so I'm gonna push back on it just a little bit. I know that you still got a little bit of bad taste. I know you still got a little bit of bad taste in your mouth about your guy and everything. And the Green Bay defense, yeah, they may have missed a spot or two with the running game, but Carolina had 13 points late in the fourth quarter. Green Bay having a chance to win this game, so the defense played to their potential. Right, as long as Carolina didn't bust 20, you could say, well, the defense did their job. Yeah, they gave up a 100-yard rusher, but aren't we the Super Bowl hopefuls that have the high-powered offense with the NFL MVP candidate named Love and an offensive guru as a head coach who can just draw up plays in his sleep? What happened to that offense? It's the offense's fault that you can't produce at home. It's not the defense's fault for holding a team to 13 points. It's the offense's fault. It's the coaching staff's fault for not putting together a game plan that will ensure that going into the fourth quarter, we are still not battling for our life here. And that's what it boiled down to. And by that point, it became a game of momentum and will and grit and the ball bouncing your way once or twice. So if anyone owns the blame on this L for the Cheeseheads, it belongs to Mr. $55 million a year Jordan Love and the offense of the Green Bay Packers.
Okay,
not
okay,
the defense, not the $48 million a year Michael Parsons. It's on the other side of the ball. Quick
okay.
shout out to Fred. Fred said he got to go to one of his other 33 jobs.
Yeah.
Uh, so he'll be back a little later if he
He'll
can.
be back, man. Fred making movies, man. Fred is like Martin Scorsese these days, man. I love it.
Okay. I feel you, baby. Get it done. Get her done. All right, man. This next one, bruh. There are poor defensive performances, and then there's the Bengals.
Man, I don't know what to say, bro. Because my team is coming up here shortly, so it ain't nothing I can say, man.
No, I mean
I
Arizona.
look at this game. I look at this game. Both of
Arizona
these defense,
credit for it,
the
but
Bengals and the 49ers defense is awful though. Because the Bengals was I would say, man, honestly, this is like that Detroit and I'm not Detroit, but the Denver Broncos and the Giants game a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the Chicago was actually up by 2-3 scores near the end of this game. It blew my mind that the Bengals was even able to get back into the game. And then the way that they scored that last touchdown in the game, Blue. I mean, they can't do that no more.
yeah,
I don't think tackling is a skill set that they teach no more, man. It's crazy.
I feel you on that, man, and I definitely understand. You're absolutely right because with 2 minutes left in the game, the Cincinnati Bengals were down by 13 points. With 2 minutes left in the game, they were down by 13 points and came back to take the lead with less than a minute to go after scoring, getting the onside kick. Talk about the onside kick a little later. But, man, you said this was a one-off, right? Because comparing it to the Giants Denver Broncos game, this was a game where you cannot tell me why Zachary Taylor still has a job. This defense has been the 33rd out of 32 teams, the 33rd ranked defense for 3+ years. Going back all the way to 2021 when Joe Burrow took them to the Super Bowl, that defense was average, like ranked 18th or 19th, and that took them to the Super Bowl. And ever since then, they have been atrocious. Cannot stop a nosebleed. How you give up 47 points to the Chicago Bears and Caleb and them is mind-boggling. The offense has put up 80 points in 2 weeks. They lost both games. They averaged 36, 35, 36 points a game. And they cannot secure a dub. Bruh, that is the epitome of a fireable offense. But yet Zachary Taylor still has a job. Secure job. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is, and I don't know the turnover rate for defensive coordinators in the National Football League. I know you say that quarterbacks go to Cleveland or to the Jets to have their career end. Defensive coordinators in Cincinnati can't spell defense. I don't know what is happening. They cannot spell defense. Ever since a defensive minded coach who was a winning coach in Cincinnati got fired because he wasn't winning in the playoffs, um, that defense is just terrible. I have nothing else to say about Cincinnati. Their season is officially over. Joe Burrow don't have to worry about coming back until the fall of 2026 because you don't have anything to come back to. Your offense sucks. Your offensive line, that is. But Joe Flacco is doing 40-year-old miraculous things with that offense. It's just that the defense is just out there flapping in the wind. Oh, now teetering on the brink, man. We talked about this on Friday night. These games, these next 4 games that we're going to talk about, were specifically about teams that they were holding on to: 1, division title hopes; 2, playoff hopes; 3, sneaking in the back door of the wild card hopes. Well, the first one on the docket was the game in prime time. last night between the Dallas Cowboys and the Arizona Cardinals. Griff's Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones's Dallas Cowboys. Michael Irvin's Dallas Cowboys. America's team, supposedly, Dallas Cowboys, that hangs 40 plus points on everyone who comes to Jerry's world in 2025. They were welcoming in a team that was 2-5 with a backup quarterback in Jacoby Brissett. Lost 5 straight games. They've lost 5 straight games. Dallas was favored to win at home as expected. Your offense that averages 40 plus points a game put up 7 points. Your season's done. Or do you still have hope with the big news of the day that Jerry did?
That ain't no big news, man. That ain't no big news, man. What Jerry did today is not no big news, man. I would tell you, man, I have already conceded, and I mean, I am a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan, but unfortunately, this is not our year. It ain't.
Hey, stop. Jordan, clock it.
Clock it.
You just admitted it's not their year.
No, it's not our year, man. Hey, matter of fact, clock this so that when they do come back and we playing in the playoffs for whatever strange reason because stuff changed, then I can say, you know what, I finally got something wrong. I would tell you, man, you know, I was sitting up there listening to the commentators last night talking about this is Marvin Harris. Again, that we playing against the Dallas Cowboys defense. I mean, hell, any of us could have looked good in that game last night.
You absolutely.
So I ain't trying to hit it. Offensive wise, man, I would say that was under a lot of duress. I mean, say what you want. We got a high-powered offense, but I would tell you, man, we got away from the run. We had a makeshift offensive line. I thought Steele was bad at right tackle. Man, Calais Campbell was 38, 39 years old over there just throwing the right tackle all over the place last night. Just slinging him around like he wasn't nothing.
Yes, he was.
And you know, we can't, man, we couldn't put, I mean, Jacoby Brissett looked good last night again because he upright. And you playing zone, we want to rush at the end of the game when the game is out of reach or whatever, man. So I ain't finna make no more excuses. Big shout out to the Cardinals, man. They did what they were supposed to do. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. Jerry done went and got Quinn Williams and Logan from Cincinnati. We'll see what that's gonna look like, but I don't see us moving no further.
I mean, the obvious softball question would be: you let Michael Parsons go at the beginning of the year in the trade. You did not get an upgrade with Quentin Williams. You got an older player. You got a slower player. You got a player heading on his 3rd contract deal, so his time in Dallas is probably going to be limited. You basically gave away your top. You gave away your top player for 2 first-round picks that are really second-round picks, which most likely are not going to be late first-round picks. They're going to be mid first-round picks because that's going to probably be a 500 type team. You gave that to the Jets today, and you did not improve on defense. It's still going to be the Cowboys having to outscore teams on offense, playing catch-up just like Cincinnati Bengals. And it's unfortunate because this is Dakota Wayne Prescott's best year, right? He is healthy. You have 2 number 1 receivers on your team that are number 1 receivers for your team. You have a run game that is very efficient. So your offense is legitimately a playoff caliber offense. It's just that your defensive coordinator is not putting together a defensive scheme to cover the gaps that you have on defense. And I, for the life of me, man, I could not understand all day everybody talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. today like he had his coming out party. It was against the Cowboys defense, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it wasn't nothing spectacular. So The Cowboys.
Everybody in the head they coming out party against the
Yeah, I know,
Cowboys
right?
this year.
So, the Cowboys competitively, in my opinion, are done for the year. Even though Dak is going to continue to have phenomenal numbers, hopefully everybody remains healthy so that George Pickens can cash out at the end of this year and get that big contract, hopefully with the Cowboys. If not, he'll make sure to test the waters and see what team is going to offer him that $35 to $40 million deal that he's going to be looking for. But it's always good to see the Cowboys take an L. Just speaking from me personally.
Yeah, hey,
And
man. Touche, touche,
yeah,
touche.
keep it 100, keep it 100 with you. I want y'all on the
Love to
level
see
with
them
me,
things
chilling.
lose.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Now this one was a surprise, surprise. Uh, the Indianapolis Colts being the hottest team in the National Football League in 2025, coming into this game at 6-1 or 7-1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who everybody believes was going to start to come back down to earth, right? Meaning that their next 4 or 5 games on their schedule as we head into November and transition into fall, chilly, slightly cold type weather, the 4 to 5 teams that are on their schedule, one, are just as good, if not better than them, are going to be favored against them starting with this game. But Pittsburgh had a little surprise for a whole lot of people. They snapped Indiana Jones back into reality and introduced Indiana Jones to Danny Dimes this past weekend and took Danny Dimes back to memory lane where he was handing out turnovers left and right. Was this a one-off for Danny Dimes, or are we going to see Indiana Jones next weekend, or is Danny Dimes back? Which one is it?
No, man. I think it was the one. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, it's probably the best that front folding looked in a while, man, as far as the defense and putting the pressure. I mean, even with this, man, the score 27-20. Indianapolis gave the ball away 6 times and they still was in this game. That's the crazy part. I think they had this number this week. I think if anything, like we was talking about in the green room, I think this game really hurt the Ravens more by that because everybody had already predicted that the Steelers was going to start dropping off because the Ravens got a much easier schedule. So this was one of the games that everybody considered or thought that the Steelers was going to lose. I think Danny Dimes is going to be okay. I think they're going to get that ball back in Taylor's hands, and Danny Dimes is going to do what he got to do. Their defense is good too. They still kept him in this game, but it's hard to win when you turn the ball over 6 times.
Yeah. And Pittsburgh is not a pushover team. You do have one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League on the opposite side. You do have DK Metcalf on offense. And like you said, 6 turnovers. It's only so much climbing up the hill you can do before you start to stumble and time runs out. So kudos to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're absolutely right. This did hurt the Baltimore Ravens. This was going to bring them back to within a game of the division lead with still 2 games against the Pittsburgh Steelers head to head. But again, both Pittsburgh and Baltimore control their own destiny. Just win the games that you are playing on that particular day, and guess what? You will find yourself in the playoffs. So it doesn't get any easier for neither one of these teams, but it does raise a question. It does raise just a little question about whether or not the Indianapolis Colts are for real, or they still got things yet to prove. And this was that game for me that was going to set them apart. They are still in the proven phase for me. Now, took a little bit of
Okay.
pleasure in this next game, not only in the outcome, but how it ended. How it ended was a good one, man. Atlanta was traveling up to New England to take on I would say a very warm, I wouldn't say hot New England Patriots team at 6-2. AFC East leading Patriots and going into the game, and they come out of the game with a 1-point victory at home against a Atlanta Falcons team that, again, wishy-washy, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You never know what you're going to get depending on where they are and what day it is. Atlanta, led by Penix Jr., had their spots. Could have won this game. Would have really made a statement if they had won this game with Bijan running the ball. But again, block kicks, miss kicks, punts, fumbles. It all through all three phases of the game all contribute to you walking out with that dub. And that missed extra point, it just hurt Atlanta too much. You surprised as to how well Atlanta played, and the possibility of them not only winning this game, but what they can take from this game to make a push in the NFC South. Because according to you, all you need is 9 victories in the NFC South to make it to the playoffs.
Look, man, we both know that you don't have to do much in the NFC South. Man.
You
You
said
can
that
take
with such aggression too.
brother. You know, like I know, man. You can take a couple of L's in there, man, and still be okay, man. You know, I think the difference making this game again, as much as and close as Atlanta was, man, the Patriots was able to figure out a way to get rid of the Bijan Robinson factor. Because I don't care what Atlanta do. Atlanta got a great defense, but on the offensive side of that ball, it only goes as far as Bijan goes. I mean, was London looked pretty good. Penix spit a little bit, man, but you still got to be able to get Bijan in the game. And the Patriots was able, and Graber comes from the Belichick tree. Look, what do Belichick used to do? He take your best player out the game and force you to beat him with everybody else, and that's what they did. They took the best player on the opposing team out of the game, and they came out with the W. They came out ugly, but you know I never trust the. I only get a Falcons 3 quarters, baby. They always figure out a way in the fourth to give it up.
That's true, man. That is, every team has a history, and that is Atlanta's history, man. The fourth quarter, they just don't show up in big games, and this was another example. And you're right. Uh, who was it? That Troy?
Kickers,
Yeah,
man. I can't
Troy
stand kickers, man.
made the comment about the rookie
They
kicker,
should
getting rid of that trusted kicker that you once had. So hey, it is what it is for the Falcons.
check too.
No sympathy for them. Now this next one in your neck of the woods, I thought CJ was going to be able to pull it out, man. This was a nail biter, as we know, walk off kick for the dub. But can Denver legitimately win the AFC West based off of what you've seen thus far at the midpoint of the season and how they're winning games, right? The way that they came back against New York. This is like the second or third game that they've won by a small margin, the skin of their teeth. Can they ride this same type of wave to the playoffs and have the Super Bowl go through Denver on the AFC side this year?
I don't think the Super Bowl. I think they can continue to win. Sometimes teams like this, like we talked about the Chiefs a year ago, and how they was just pulling games out by the
Mm-hmm.
skin of their teeth. I still think they might be missing some parts. I don't want to take nothing away from Bo Nix. Bo Nix is pretty good, but the fact that Texans, a great defensive minded team, and they played that way. The difference making this game was CJ getting knocked out of the game with that concussion. Whatever offensive chances that they might have had, it went out the window when he went in there. Mills has been with the team before, but it was a different type of offense out there on the field with Mills in there, and so that was a difference making than them knocking CJ out of this game. But I can see them still; they'll definitely be representing the AFC. When you look at the AFC West, the Chargers, we don't know which Charger team gonna show up. The Chiefs helped them out a little bit by losing this week, so the Chiefs, they got. And we ain't gonna even talk about Troy team. Troy team looking for that first pick, and so yeah, I,
Uh,
I can see that the Broncos will be there, but I don't see the Super Bowl going through the
he
Broncos.
said factory reset.
Huh?
Troy said CJ got knocked back to factory reset.
See, Troy ain't nice, man. Yeah.
He said factory reset. That is funny to me.
Hey, man, that wasn't nice, Troy.
That was not nice. He is in concussion protocol though. Okay. No,
You know,
you're
Troy don't care, man. Troy don't care, man.
um, how good can Denver be? Right? You said you don't know what you're gonna get with the Los Angeles Chargers because Justin Herbert is wishy washy. You're gonna rely on a Jim Harbaugh running approach, but their running game is not really something to write home about. So I agree with you with the Chargers being suspect. You can never count out Kansas City. I don't believe that they're going to be hosting playoff games this year. Uh, I don't see Kansas City being able to go on the road 3 weeks in a row in the AFC, whether it is playing in that first weekend on that wild card against a Buffalo team, say for instance, and having to travel back to Orchard Park, and then the following week having to travel back to New England to Foxborough or to Denver, and vice versa, or to Baltimore if Baltimore does come back and win the division, or Pittsburgh. So I believe that the Denver Broncos will have just as good of any other team's odds to be hosting the AFC Championship game. Now, obviously, everything has to fall their way, and nobody has to can get hurt, and everybody has to stay healthy. But the Broncos has just a good enough of a chance to make it to the Super Bowl from the AFC as any other team in the AFC, just based off of how much grit they have, how aggressive we know Sean Payton is both on the offensive side, the defensive side, and in special teams. So he is the original when you think of being an aggressive play caller, when we put that label on coaches like Dan Campbell. So as long as they stay healthy, I can see Bo Nix leading his team to the Super Bowl. More to see, obviously, but don't count those Broncos out. Now, this next one, man, kind of hurt my heart there a little bit because the Washington Commanders welcomed in the Seattle Seahawks. They got blown out the daggone stadium in the very first quarter. This game was over in the first quarter as it pertains to being competitive. They weren't having any offensive efficiency from the Commanders side. They couldn't stop a nosebleed on defense. Sam Darnold looked good. The Seattle run game looked good. The pass game looked good. So Seattle was obviously the better team. But having your quarterback go down with what I'm going to call is a season-ending injury with a dislocated elbow for Jaden Daniels is something that put a end to the Washington Commanders' competitiveness in 2025. They could very well end up being the worst record having team in their division by the end of the year, simply because of injuries. Started off with McLaurin holding out, coming in, getting that soft tissue injury early on in the season that is going to just continue to nag and nag and nag. Now your starting quarterback is out. But what I want you to discuss is how impressed are you and how much confidence do you have in those Seattle Seahawks and how dominant they looked against a Washington Commanders team that got it. They're not what they were last year, but you still kind of considered them to be a good team. Can Seattle shock a whole lot of people since we're at this mid-season point and we're talking about playoff potential for playoff caliber teams? Can Seattle come out of the NFC and be that dark horse team to make it to the Super Bowl?
Oh, what you mean dark horse, man? I don't see it even being a dark horse, man. When you look at this team right here, and especially after looking at Sam Donald and how they played against the Commanders, but the defense, that's what's the true difference maker for me for this squad. They have a very, very good defense, and we know defense win games. It's great to have an offense over there, and that daggone Smith and Jiggy is tight. And then they just pillaged your team and got Shaheed. He's going out to that just make that receiving core even more dangerous. But Seattle's defense is this is probably the toughest right now. You talking about Seattle, the Rams, and even a broken 49ers team. They all three of them is like a three-way tie between these three teams right now. And I ain't trying to say I'm giving life to the 49ers, but I truly see that they will be hosting, and it's possible the way everybody else looking right now, the Seattle could be a team that could be in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. Now that three-headed monster in the NFC West, where both the Rams and the Seahawks are what, two lost teams, and the 49ers a three-lost team. But we saw what the 49ers did this weekend, even with the amount of injuries that they have. They are always one of those teams that scares you if you have to play them, because again, they could be one of those that you don't know what you're going to get, but you know you're going to get a certain level of efficiency on the offensive play calling side of the ball. And whether or not Seattle is the best of the three, still yet to be determined. We're only at the midway point of the season, but I cannot think of another team in the NFC that is playing better than them right now. I cannot. And I call them a dark horse because you don't hear much about the great Northwest, right? And I know Troy made mention in the comments about McDonald being the Ravens defensive coordinator from several years ago. And yes, they do miss him. But adding Shaheed to that running or that passing game, bro, he's the one that's going to take the cap off of the defense. He's going to be that deep threat for the Seattle Seahawks in the second half of the season. So they are one of the top two teams in the NFC for me. As we stand midway through the season, it's between them and Philly as to which team is the best team in the NFC as we stand on this day for me. So I'm extremely impressed with the Seattle Seahawks, and I look for them to be competing for that number one position come January. Now, we talked about the 49ers going into New York and putting up a good, impressive win. We knew that the Rams were going to walk all over my Saints. And Troy almost snuck one out there, but, y'all do what y'all do in Raiderland and gave another game away to the Jacksonville
Yeah, for the
Jaguars.
win, baby. They had to go for the win. The hell with kicking the extra point. They had to go for the win, baby.
Hey, I got to give it to Pete Carroll, bro. He a brave soul, but, hey, you said it in the green room between the Jets, the Saints, and the Raiders. They all racing to the bottom to see who can get that number one pick to get Arch Manning. No, but man, speaking of Arch Manning had the game of his life this past weekend, in my opinion, when the Texas Longhorns invited in the Vanderbilt Commodores and were nervous because Vanderbilt instills fear in teams' hearts this year. I don't know how, I don't know why, but nobody wants to play the Vanderbilt Commodores. And coming into this game, they were a 10th ranked team, a one-loss team. Again, traveling to Austin. Texas was favored by like 1.5 points and had to hold off Vanderbilt from coming back to win this game. But Texas was up 31-10 at some point in the second and third quarter. So they had a firm control of this game. And Vandy scored 21 late. But I said at the top that Arch had the game of his life. He had some very impressive numbers. Put up some touchdowns, made Mike Sanders proud and Fred proud. The Hook'em Horns Nation was proud. Sark was proud. The Manning family was proud. But can Arch back that up and continue on to keep Texas competitive for a playoff position? Because we had kind of written them off after they took that second L, right? you can kind of dismiss the first one against Ohio State because Ohio State is a very, very, very good team. First game of the year. But I was shocked that Texas won this game. I picked Vanderbilt in this game. I didn't think Texas was good enough to win this game at home. You know they're much better than me. What came out of this game that the Longhorns took to give them hope that they got a shot to make it to college football playoffs this year?
I told you it's hard playing in College State. I'm not College Station, but playing in Austin, man. I've been there. I don't went and watched Alabama play there, and it ain't an easy place to play. What was a shocking point for me was the Texas defense and their ability to basically. I know you look at the numbers and you can see Pavia had over 300 yards passing, but that was on the back end of the game. But they was able to contain Pavia in that running game. Yeah, we could talk about Arch Manning, but hell, man, Arch numbers it don't tell the true story either. I mean, he threw a screen pass the first play of the game that went for 75 yards. So people talking about he back in the Heisman race. I didn't
No,
see that. I watched that game, and I still see a kid that still got some development to do. I don't want to take nothing away from it, but the difference making this game was Texas defense. Texas defense played like the defense of old, and Vandy. I would just say, man, they might have been eating to some of that rat poison. Look, we number 9. We ain't been in this spot in a while, and instead of staying humble. And that's where it comes when you got a guy like Pavia that's taking on these Johnny Manziel traits and showing them money and all this other bull crap. You know what? They got some humble pie this week.
yeah, there's a fine line between having bravado and cockiness, right? And Pavia is teetering just based off of the success that the team has had in 2025 on straddling the fence between bravado and confidence and a little bit of cockiness. You need to have a mesh of both, to be honest, to be as good as you want to be to reach your full potential. But as a team, uh, Vanderbilt did this to themselves, right? By not filling in those gaps, like you mentioned, the very first play of the game, you giving up a 75-yard touchdown pass and having to play catch up in a hostile environment, creating a deficit of 21 points to where you have to scratch, claw, and fight to get back into the game. And you basically run out of time because I'm not sitting here on Tuesday night saying that Texas was the better team on that day. They made less mistakes. They took advantage of their opportunities. And both teams are still alive for a playoff berth. Neither one of them can take another L, obviously. We all know that 2 losses is the floor by the time we get to December for the 12 teams that are going to be selected. But I was thoroughly impressed by the Longhorns. I did not think they had it in them. So kudos, shout out to home Longhorn Nation, hook 'em horns. Y'all live to fight another day. It doesn't get any easier. Now this next game, man, Troy, South Carolina Gamecocks put up a valiant effort for about 5 good minutes, but the better team went in or defended home field in Oxford with Ole Miss winning the game that they were expected to win. This was actually a pretty good game for most of the afternoon and evening, or the evening there. And the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, is that going to be a distraction? Because we know Ole Miss is good enough to make it to the playoffs and possibly go have a deep run in the playoffs. But will the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes be a distraction here over the next few weeks?
It will. It will. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. The Lane Kiffin was a distraction when Alabama lost the national championship to Clemson, and Sark had to come in. Lane name is on every team that's looking for a hire right now. And as much as you want to say, hey, don't listen to the rap, them kids, social media is way bigger than what it was in the past. These kids see all this stuff. They don't know if their coach gonna be there. And Lane has left a team in the middle going into a championship game. He was the offensive coordinator for 18.
Yes, he
And
was.
so based off of how Lane, and you know how Lane is, I mean, it's gonna be a distraction. And I think it's gonna hurt Ole Miss. They are one of the teams right now. Currently, if the playoffs started today, they got Ole Miss ranked number 6 and playing in the playoff. But I don't. By the end of the season, I think Ole Miss gonna get another L, and it's because of what's going on and worrying about whether or not Lane gonna be here next year or not.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I believe so as well. And if well, we'll talk about the current rankings that were released tonight in a minute. This one was a shock for me, man, and we can move on from this Ole Miss game, Jordan. The Oklahoma Sooners going into Tennessee to Knoxville, another one of those stadiums in the SEC that is extremely difficult for a visiting team to come in and get a dub, right? Because you have 110,000 volunteers singing Rocky Top and just supporting their team. And Tennessee is usually a very good team at home. Oklahoma doesn't usually travel well. They simply don't, not in the SEC, historically, for the short time that they've been in the SEC, have not traveled well. But old Coach Venable dug in and got that Boomer Sooner spirit, got it going, and Oklahoma beat a Tennessee team that this was the first playoff game for both of these teams. So Tennessee is out. Oklahoma continues to live and fight for their playoff lives. And each game in the SEC for Oklahoma until the end of the season is a playoff game because they have their second loss. Each game in the SEC for Texas is a playoff game because they have 2 losses. Each game in the SEC for Vanderbilt is a playoff game because they have 2 losses. Alabama is nothing but a breath away. Georgia is nothing but a breath away from being on that fence too. So each game in that conference means everything every week to every team. How far can Oklahoma go? In 2025's SEC, do you believe Oklahoma makes it to the college football playoffs first? Because they're not going to win the title. You believe they sneak in on the back end to the playoffs? And if they do, can they make a little bit of noise?
If they sneak in, it's because of how we do. We eat our own in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as making the noise, man, they proved to me that they wasn't. And I know it's a rivalry game, but they performance against Texas in the what is the Red River shootout to me let me know that you know what,
Rivalry. Yeah.
I don't think this team can go that far. I mean, teams are putting a lot of points on a team like Oklahoma, whose head coach is a defensive minded guy. And I don't see them, even if they make it through the gauntlet and make it to the playoffs, because some people might fall off, and it's going to be some teams that fall off. As you look at this list, a lot of these teams that's on here still got a lot of season left, and some key games that they got to play. Oklahoma still got to play Alabama. They want a chance. They got to beat Alabama. So
And LSU.
and they need LSU to beat Alabama this weekend too. So,
Yeah.
but that's what happens in the SEC, man. We eat our own.
Yeah, and Howard, you are right. Oh, Tennessee was the better team on that night. Tennessee performed better. They had more offensive efficiency. They had controlled the clock, but they were not putting the ball in the end zone when they had the opportunity. It is what it is because you did what you did. You get what you get. So, this is the best part of the year. This next month, this next 3 weeks in college football, these next 4 weeks in college football. And we have the latest and the greatest in the first 2025 college football playoff rankings, fresh off the presses, ladies and gentlemen, where Ohio State, surprisingly, is number 1. They haven't played anybody yet, so I don't understand why they're number 1, because strength of schedule, strength of record, and all of the other analytics that go into this supposed formula that we want teams to play quality games, competitive games. Ohio State has not done that yet this year, at least to me. Washington doesn't matter. Illinois doesn't matter. Texas, first game of the year, that could have gone either way. Those are the top 3 games that you can hang on Ohio State being a top-tier team. I don't see them as the number one team. Just my opinion. Indiana to me is a better team than Ohio State. I don't think they are the second best team in the country, but again, those are the rankings. Those are the rankings. Those are the rankings.
No, 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 no,
Okay,
no.
I see 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Notre Dame made it. Okay, Oklahoma. Okay, Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 SEC teams in the initial ranking. Out of those six, you can count on
Yeah.
three staying.
Uh, well, I mean, the last two at the bottom, that's not correct because Memphis is number 12 and number 11 is Virginia. So I don't know how those they on the back end, but as you look, I'm looking at the bracket right now.
Okay.
Ohio State is number one. Indiana is number two. Texas A&M is number three. Alabama is number four. They all get first round buys. As of right now, in the first round, if we was to play today, you would have Memphis playing Georgia, Oregon playing Texas Tech, Virginia playing Ole Miss, and Notre Dame playing BYU. That's what the first round of the playoffs will look like.
Okay.
I think Indy is a much better team than Ohio State. I think, but that's gonna come to a head too. Indiana and Ohio State, they gonna get a chance to determine who the best between them two are. But you know when I look at this, Drew, and I think Troy said it earlier. They created this 12-team playoffs to keep us SEC teams out.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you still got the chance of an SEC team still winning the national championship.
We'll see, man. All right. So the big game of the weekend in the NFL this upcoming weekend. This is going to be the separation game for me, right? We talked about the Packers earlier and whether or not they are a quality team and Super Bowl hopeful, and whether or not the Eagles are the tier. What are you looking for from Jordan Love to redeem himself?
Don't turn the ball over and be able to get those balls and to get the ball in those receivers' hands that he got on that squad. Man, he got to be a little bit more proficient on the offensive side of the ball. Like I know, Jalen Hurts and them gonna do what they got to do. They figure out a way, be it through the air or on the ground. But I think that Jordan Love and I've been saying this all season, he has to figure out a way not to turn the ball over, use Josh Jacobs as much as he possibly can, and get the ball in his game player's hand, man. So, I mean, you talked about it. He the $50 million man. He ain't playing like it.
Yeah. And the Eagles coming off of that week off. I'm looking for them to be proficient. I'm looking for them to, as everybody is wanting to say, let the rest of the NFL know on Monday night that, yeah, we are a running team still because we are going to establish the run game with Saquon, just like we did our last game where he had his first 100-yard game of the year, and not place it on Jalen Hurts' legs and or arm to win us a game in an environment, because it's going to be at Lambeau Field on Monday night. So it's going to be an atmosphere where it's going to have playoff implications and playoff connotations and playoff kind of atmosphere. I'm looking to see whether or not the Philadelphia Eagles can reestablish that run game, and AJ Brown will be back, or whether or not we're going to be focused more on the passing game. So looking for that one. Great game to close out week 10 in the NFL. Griff, phenomenal show, man. We had some big games this past weekend. The separation continues both in the college ranks, especially after the initial college football playoff rankings were released tonight, and how key injuries continue to derail seasons in the National Football League. we got you to admit tonight that this is not your team's year on the NFL level. You still have a shot. You're right in the thick of things on the collegiate level. So, what are you looking for here over the next month as we close out the show from any team that you want to highlight to give them a better chance to get to their desired destination?
I mean, what I'm looking for is just seeing teams separate, and I give you one. I mean, we talked about the Colts. This is where the Colts got to bounce back and truly separate themselves from everybody else, and show everybody that this loss against the Steelers was it happened. But I'm gonna show you how we can bounce back and let everybody know that we for real. I, I um I think the Green Bay Packers definitely got to prove it. I mean, I think this week, like you said, has been like the game of the week. This will be the determining factor whether or not Green Bay gonna be sitting there at the end. Raiders mascot should be and can't be right. but
Man,
don't beat the team
you
up.
got me, bro. You got me because every Tuesday night before we close out the NFL, we talk about the Thursday night game because the Thursday night game is going to happen before we actually come back on the air on Friday. And I just kind of glazed over it this week because the Thursday night game is the Raiders traveling to Denver to take on the 7-2 Denver Broncos. Troy, I was trying to look out for you, fam. I didn't know that you want me to bring up your Raiders, but if you want, we can talk about the Raiders real quick. The Raiders gonna lose on Thursday night. They're gonna be 1-8, 1-9, or whatever their record is gonna be, and they're gonna be right there with my Saints competing for that number one position in the 2026 NFL Draft. Keep rocking with it, Troy. All right, Griff, man, phenomenal show. Come to another close. You got anything for the roundtable audience as we depart?
And then, as always, man, big shout out to everybody that hung around and chatted it up. We truly appreciate y'all as always. Thank y'all for showing up and showing out. Look forward to get back here on Friday. Y'all be safe out there. Again, thank y'all, all those that exercise their silver duties and went and voted. Again, that is where your voice truly count. Going back and forth on social media means nothing, but actually going to those polls and actually vote, it means a lot. So, hey, see y'all all back here on Friday, and I turn it back over to you, Drew.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I definitely echo your sentiments about the voting. We do have that civic responsibility, civic obligation, and that privilege to ensure that our voices are heard. And it's not just voting to vote. You're voting for yourself. You're voting for your family. You're voting for the future of your community every time that you go to the polls. So please continue to drive that civic message home. Even after the polls close tonight, the next election will be at the very beginning of the next calendar year when you start going through the primary process to select your local representatives, your state representatives, and or your congressional representatives. So you have to continue to stay engaged. It is an additional duty of sorts, but if we want to be active members of society, we have to make sure that we are doing our part. Football, great weekend behind us, an even better weekend ahead of us because this is the first full weekend in November, where every first full weekend in November, the LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide play each other. This year, that game is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, so we will definitely be enthralled in that conversation for Friday night show, and I'm looking forward to that game. Even though we are at a serious disadvantage, both with experience on the field and on the sideline. I'm
Nah,
always.
don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You saw what I
Don't,
was doing.
look, you already setting it up for later, man. Don't do that.
You saw what I was doing. No, but I'm being realistic as well. You know, y'all have the tactical advantage this year, so I'm putting it out there on Front Street. But
Damn right.
you know, I'm coming with it on Friday night because I'm gonna be all about them Tigers, and I'm gonna give you every reason why we are going to go into Tuscaloosa and shock the world. Shock the world. Inspiration is gonna be a theme. But hopefully y'all have a safe and a blessed week wherever you are. And take care of yourselves. take care of your family. Do something nice for yourselves. Do something nice for your family. And if given the opportunity, please ensure you do something nice for somebody that you may not even know, because it just might be the best thing that happens to you and them on that particular day. We shall see y'all back here on Friday night. Y'all have a safe and a blessed week. Be breezy.